Like kind of 3 movies, you kind of get to a point where you're like, there's an instinctive understanding of it, so you don't really know where you end and where the character begins after a while. And so I don't know. I mean, there are certain things where you don't know if he's similar, if it's you thinking, because I mean, you spent so much time on Vancouver and you're just like, Ed wouldn't do that, and if someone asks you why, you don't know why. Because I wouldn't do it.
Hi, I'm John from E! Online. It's kind of crazy because the last movie hasn't even come out yet, but there's been a lot of speculation and talk about possibly rebooting the Twilight franchise. So I was kind of wondering what, on the whole, your thoughts were on that, and for the actors, what your thoughts were on possibly seeing someone else take on these characters you've made iconic.
Love that expression.
I think it'd be amazing. I would love to see that. I would. I pity the person who takes over my part. I would make a campaign against it.
But at the same time, I think like what's really great about this, though, and the reason turning that last page is what it is because you just have a faith it's done. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, they can have it now. I mean, I feel like this is just a very insider's perspective. I played her, but if anything else happened, I swear to God, like please leave them alone. Do you know what I mean? Like please let them. They figured it out. Leave them. And I think that by the end of the movie, it's so sort of like abundantly satisfying and sweet and ideal and like it just feels good. It should end, but like Steph. I'm down. No, I mean, I'm just saying. I would be open to the idea. I'd be really curious to see what it was.
It would be really interesting, in 20 years, right? 20 years? That's good. But I do pity the person who tries to step into these roles. Because that's going to be really hard and not going to go well for them, I don't imagine. This is what is loved. And it wouldn't be the same. It'd be interesting, but it'd be so hard.
What would you write if you wrote just like someone?
Wait, what would I write if what?
If there was a
the next one? Well, Bella's story is definitely told. Like you said, it's final. Back in the day when I was never going to stop writing about vampires, there was a reason why this lovely lady was created.
What am I thinking?
Yeah, obviously.
Right here.
There's it was, it's funny. Like, Bella I just want Bella to have a baby. No, I was creating the marriage. That's what she is. But, again, 20 years down the road.
What do you think about kind of Ed and Bella get divorced? It's like kind of Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing.
Who comes out of that alive? What do you see?
So that's the whole thing.
Because one of you, someone's going to die, right?
I can totally rip your head off.
Yeah, I think my money comes out.
Yeah, but it's like,
Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing right now?
Okay, right in the middle, down in the middle here. Jeremy Parsons from Reels. Rob, we remember, I think 4 years ago, whatever it was, the very first Comic-Con, you came out of Hall H, almost physically shaken by the experience of the fans. Compare Comic-Con then to Comic-Con now in terms of your experiences through all these years.
The first one was genuinely frightening. I had never experienced anything any of us have experienced kind of crowd that large. It's strange. But then you get used to it surprisingly quickly. It's weird. And you have a persona that develops in front of a bunch of people. And it's different with specifically fans of Twilight as well. There's a certain mood which comes out. I think this is fun. This is like Comic-Con. It's when you have 6,000 people, it's kind of like one of the big premieres. Like one in LA, there's 10,000 people or something. But that's just walking around and hey, these people screaming. There is some kind of element of show, but there is a back and forth a little bit. So it's way more fun. when you turn to the premiere, it's literally, it's exercise doing a marathon, basically. So this is actually something to do.
Brianna from the EP Daily. I just want to ask, everyone already knows kind of how the film goes because they've read the novel. So what do you think the film adds in terms of drama and emotion to complement the books?
Bill Condon is really great with finding human emotion in the middle of fantastic events. I think he did that brilliantly in the first movie. He really made you feel the human relationships there. And I think that carries through. He does a really excellent job of that.
I hope it doesn't sound like I don't know, like we're like really arrogant. But like, we do really cool things with the ending. And I think people already know that possibly as well, which kind of is a bummer. But I think Bill is the perfect person to direct the fourth book, even though it's 2 movies. Now that we live in full-on Twilight Land, we're Bella's a vampire. The human aspects are really, I mean, they're gone now. It's always been something that's rooted the story, and I was nervous going into this. I was like, now that she's the vampire, now that she's a vampire as well, it might just seem a little bit hard to grasp. Like, is there going to be something that we can hold? And he did it. Like he totally did it. I think we did it. And also the end. I think fans can expect something very, very emotional, like a bit of a wrap up. And it's like, I mean, I've seen it 4 times and I cry every time. It's so cool.
Thomas Wilkinson, Cumulus Media. As with the end of any saga, the action is bound to ratchet up. Were there any discussions on set about maintaining the PG-13 rating? And also, were there any physical demands that you found particularly challenging or difficult?
Did you say fiscal or physical?
Physical.
Kristen, you wore a hand brace for a lot of the movie. I think that you won the prize on that one.
I have really bad luck with my thumbs. It's plagues me actually. Drives me crazy. It still hurt. Both of them are very oddly shaped. Yeah.
But she fought for it.
Yeah, totally. Because we did. I hurt myself right at the beginning of all of our action sequences, and so any grimace you see is probably real. I'm like, physically, this thing's been more challenging than anything because even the way she walks into a room is different than how I would walk into a room. I mean, everything is. If you think a mile a minute, you're never going to be indecisive about anything. Everything is very pointed. And that was fun. I think, I got to see everyone else's versions of their vampires over, this really long period. And so I feel like I liked picking and choosing what to use and what not to use. It was sort of, I feel like rounding her out was fun and physically really, really challenging. I remember going up to Stephenie on the first day that I had to play a vampire because we shot them. They were integrated schedules, and I was like, Steph, how am I going to sound like wind chimes, you jerk? That's impossible. I really, kind of blew my mind. So stuff like that was the biggest challenge for me. Letting go of that, because I don't sound like wind chimes.
Way down here.
Over here, Terry Morrow, Scripps Howard. After doing all these films, do you have a better insight on what makes this phenomenon?
For me, no.
Any of you?
Not at all.
I really do greatly apologize, but Rob was just speaking to me and I didn't hear your question.
He wants to know if we have better insight on why this is a phenomenon now that we've done the movies, which I don't, because it still surprises me all the time.
Well, I think you're just being extremely humble about it. Because what I say, I never can answer that question, but all the credit does go back to the books and the characters that this one has created. I mean, that's where it all started, and we're extremely honored to be in the situation to